Guys, can you see the screen? Hello, can I? Yeah, so you can see something like ST, CGT, right? 15%. Can you see it? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fine. So fine. So I'll just be giving a brief recap as to what I taught last time. So in the last session we learned so taxation on mutual funds is what we learned. So we know like the main types of mutual funds which are there in India. They are equity mutual funds and hybrid mutual funds, and hybrid equity, hybrid and debt mutual funds. Hybrid is a mixture of both equity and debt based on the proportion at which they are present. So, before I taught taxation on mutual funds in the last session, I went through something called capital gain. So, capital gain, as you can see, it's nothing but whatever profits you have secured in your mutual fund investments, you have tax. So, those profits which you gained are called capital gain. So, capital is basically the amount you invest in anything with the hope that you're gonna get a return in the future. So that is what capital, and gain is obviously self-explanatory. Hence the two terms capital and gain. Okay, and we also thought and we also went through how if equity mutual funds if they sold after a year, we have something called long-term capital gain tax which is levied on them, and within a year we have something called the short-term capital gain tax which is levied. And so when last time I told that short-term capital gain tax, that is when you sell all your mutual fund units within a year, it's 15%. So on your returns and profit. So for example, if your returns or your profit is rupees 100, rupees 15 is considered what do you call tax, a short-term capital gain tax which has to be paid. And again, long term is after a year when you sell your mutual funds units. So on your returns, the capital gain tax which is levied is 10%. And the exclusivity here is if the profits are under 1 lakh, it's tax free, so you don't have to worry about it. Then we went through something called debt mutual funds as well. So here the profit gets added to your income tax statements. So debt mutual funds are basically they invest in debt securities. So the debt securities are mostly government bonds, debentures, debt. So as the sessions go by, when we go to the advanced sessions, I'll be teaching you the different types of government securities or debt securities. For now, you don't have to worry about it because yeah, so when you buy a debt mutual fund, you're just buying the unit. You don't have to know the sign, you know the actual finance underlying in it. But as when we go to the advanced session, so when I'll be teaching fundamental analysis and stuff, that time I'll be teaching you all these debt instruments, debt financial instruments. So what happens here is profit gets added to your income tax statements, and you will be taxed according to your IT slab. So different types of IT slabs, right? So for income about 2 lakhs, you have one IT slab. Between 1 and 2, you have all those different IT slabs, right? So based on your income, your the tax will be levied accordingly. So that's what happens in debt mutual funds. And we also went through how to select a mutual fund. So it's like knowing the company, the historical performance. And in today's session, I'll actually be showing you the correlation between how historical performance and how the net asset value changes. So it's more or less proportional. So if the historical performance is usually high, you can, if the stock market is either the Sensex or the Nifty, whatever index you're comfortable with. Today I'll be going with Nifty. So based on how Nifty is performing, your NAV adjusts itself accordingly, because at the end of the day, a mutual fund house does invest in the stock market. Yes, you do have exclusively debt mutual funds, but most of the mutual funds, at least what people want to invest in, they usually deal with equity mutual funds or hybrid mutual funds. So most of the proportion in those mutual funds are equity. So today we'll be learning that through the help of Excel sheet. I'll tell you how to calculate them as well. And you have something called expense ratio, and I'll show you the importance of expense ratio as well through an Excel sheet. So stay till the end, where I'll be going through the whole process. So the last 15 to 20 minutes will be exclusively based on Excel calculations. And we went through something called net asset value. Net asset value is like a face for face. It's similar to how a stock price is. A mutual, so the better the net asset value, the more is the performance. The performance, it's a performance indicator of a mutual fund. So this we went through something called NAV as well, and we went through the underlying math behind how NAV is calculated. So here you have NAVs, assets minus liabilities, divided by total number of units, and we did go so all the entire math explanation, the calculation, everything is there in the recording, which is why I suggest you guys, you don't have to watch it in the normal speed. Watch it in 1.5x, 2x also, no problem. So for example, suppose a mutual fund started, their NAV at the start was 25, then say after 1 year their NAV became 32.5. So now I'm talking about the absolute return with respect to the NAV. So say for example, you invested the amount which is exactly equal to the NAV itself. What would have been your return after a year? So suppose for example you invested 25 rupees at the start of that mutual fund, and after 1 year, the NAV of that mutual fund became 32.5. Okay, so you invested at 25. So when you invest at 25, you can more or less expect your 1 year later, 1 year later, your your investment value to be 32.5. So this is how the return is calculated. Simple math. So you have 32.5 minus 25 into 100, so 30% return. And again, this is a very hypothetical case I took. So now I just skimmed through because I gave an in detailed explanation of each and everything, how this calculation is done, what is management fee, what are redemption fees which are paid, what is how are assets classified, how are liabilities classified. Okay, so before I go into the session, I just would like to know, do you guys have any doubts? It can be anything basic. Do you guys know what assets, liabilities, equity mean? I need a response, please, because I can't shift my screen to the Google screen and see your chats. First, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? That's what I want to know. Okay, so am I going too fast? Am I going too fast, or is this pace enough? Do you want me to slow down? Okay, so any doubts before I move on? You can put it on the chat box, no problem. Hello guys, I need a response, please, because today's difficulty is gonna ramp up a little bit. So before you guys find any difficulty there, I would like to clarify all your doubts now. So please, you can put it on the chat box, no problem. Okay, fine. That's fine. Then let's start the next topic. Okay, I want today's session to be interactive. I'll keep reiterating this again and again unless you guys are in. So obviously, I'm not putting a gun to your head and telling you to respond. But the reason I want you guys to be interactive is because when you're interactive, the exchange of ideas facilitate better understanding of the concept, which is why I want you guys to interact. Any form of doubts, or if there's anything you would like to add, because at the end of the day, this is not a teacher student relation. That's not I want to yearn for here. It's an exchange of ideas. If there's something I've missed out on, or if there's something which you're not sure about, please feel free to correct me. Okay, so let's start with today's session. Today's session is all about SIPs and lump sum. So I'm leaving the floor to you guys. Can anyone just give like a 2-liner about SIP? Anyone? At least tell the full form, no problem. Guys, can you hear me? Wait, can you hear me? Hello, I just need a response. Can you guys hear me, or should I go ahead? Please tell me. Yeah. So okay, fine. So any of you guys, does anyone want to go ahead, or should I continue with my session? Fine then, it's fine, no problem. Okay, so SIP and lump sum. Okay, they are those. These are basically the two form of investments which are done in mutual funds. Okay, so let's start off with SIP. Okay, SIP is nothing. It stands for systematic investment plan. Okay, so systematic investment plans. So here the idea of SIP is you invest you invest a small, it can be any amount. Usually it starts off small, which is one of the advantages of SIP. It can be as low as 500. So you invest it every month. Okay, this is what SIP is. So you buy the units of the mutual funds at that net asset value of that particular mutual funds. You invest it every month. So instead of investing a bulk amount, which is what lump sum is, I'm going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages as the session goes by. SIP involves investment of usually a small amount or a reasonable amount every month. Okay, so if you invest on 1st of January 2020, your next investment should be 1st of February 2020, and next has to be 1st of March 2020, April, like that. It's very consequential. So this is what SIP stands for, systematic investment plan. Okay, so let's let me finish off with the theory. After I finish this one, I'll just stop sharing my screen on the iPad, and I'll show you like how to calculate SIP and how it's calculated and stuff. So for now, let's just finish the theory. So what are the benefits of SIP? If anyone, since no one would like to answer, I will go ahead with the session. If anyone wants to give a go, please, like you can unmute and tell your answer. What do you think are the benefits of SIP? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's one. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyone else would like to have a go? Okay, fine. It's fine. No problem. No problem. Okay. So here, so as I said before, it's fixed monthly investment. You could do it half yearly, quarterly. There are various types, but usually SIPs are monthly investments. So fixed monthly investments. Okay. And benefits is you can start with a low amount. Some mutual funds, the SIP start as low as rupees 500. I mean, it's easy. Suppose you're doing your direct stock market investing, 500 is usually 500 as a gain per day, something you can get. So you can go as low as that and put into you can invest that into an SIP for a mutual fund. So one of the benefit is start with low amount. Okay. Then the other advantage is market tracking is not required. So say for example, and I'll explain as to why market tracking is not required in depth. I'm not telling you should completely neglect. It's not required in depth as compared to say a lump sum investment or your direct stock market investment. Market tracking is not required. Okay, and as someone told before, it's comparatively new for beginners and the reason is market tracking is not required. Why don't we need market tracking when it comes to an SIP investment is basically your returns are averaged out. Okay, so you know that stock market is basically like it's analogous to gambling. It's high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. Okay, but with what happens in SIP is, since you're investing a comparatively small amount every month, whether the market goes down or market goes up, at some point you know that there's bound to be a correction. So you're just investing every month, and sometimes your returns will go a little low, and at the same when it goes low, you know that your returns are going to get so the market is going to correct itself, and it's going to go high sometimes. So for example, if you invested rupees 500, after 1 month it became 400, you don't have to worry because the correction the stock market will allow. So 500, after 1 month you have that 400 rupees from the last investment, and then the current month you invest 500, so you have 900, and the market corrects itself and it goes, that 900 becomes 1000, Again, next month, suppose the market goes from 1000 to say 900, and you know the market's gonna correct itself, and you also did an SIP of 500 again, so each month 500, right? So 900 plus 500, 1400. So as your amount increases, your cost also is average. Average means what, guys? So you know average means what? Average basically in mathematics, when we learn average, it is basically a number which can act as a substitute for all the numbers available in the data set. Will you guys agree with this point? Yes, correct, right? So for example, if you have what 1 2 3 4 5, so 1 2 3 4 5 is what is the average? 3. Average is 3, right? So basically when you calculate an average I'm talking in mathematics terms, when you calculate an average, basically a number which can take the value or which can take the place of all the numbers available in the data set. Correct, right? So that is the concept which is applied here. So whenever you do the SIP investment, like every month you invest 500, your cost is average. So regardless of whether the market is falling down or whether it's going down or up, your average and your returns are it's calibrated in such a way that your returns are averaged out. So it's not like when you invest 10,000, suppose the market falls down, the 10,000 may become 8,000, because why? Huge so you want you're taking a huge risk, and sometimes if it doesn't pay off, that huge risk comes in, so that 10,000 becomes 8,000, so you're losing 2,000 just in 1 month. Say for example, in 1 month the 10,000 falls to 8,000. So that's one of the drawbacks of lump sum. I'm not implying that lump sum has no advantages. We'll come to that. So one of the main advantages as to why SIP is preferred by beginners is market tracking is not required, because you know that mutual funds are money is the money which we invest is invested on behalf of us by the mutual fund house. So they know how to take care of, because they know that they have to keep their ranking and their mutual funds name very high. So obviously if there's a dip in the market, they're gonna reshuffle their portfolios in such a way that their investors get some amount of return even in that troubling time. So and with SIP, that advantage is furthered even more, because every month you're investing a small amount, so whatever losses you have, it's kind of averaged out. So if you have 100 rupee loss, it's kind of averaged out. When next month when you invest that 500, you'll get a plus, suppose you get a plus 150, that loss is covered already. So long story short, market tracking is not required in SIP extensively, because your returns and your costs are averaged out. So returns averaged, cost average. So this is why market tracking is not required. And the most, I think, I mean, for us as young people who wanna become financially independent, I feel this is the most important point. You will get into a habit of regular savings because of SIP. Can anyone like explain this point? Why did I say this point? Anyone? Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So yeah, that's correct. That's a good answer. So as she told before, what's your name? Sorry. So as Pranjal told, that's one. So because you know that you have to commit to a monthly premium. Premium is the investment, the SIP investment you do every month. Since you know that without fail you have to do that every month for you to see some return after a specific period of time, you'll get into the habit of regular savings. So you won't rush into a decision, because there's no need for you to immediately put like 30,000 gain, hoping that the 30,000 becomes 40,000 and you get a net 10,000. So all this doesn't work. With the main advantage of SIP is you get into the habit of regular savings being invested into your SIPs. So whatever savings, say for example, you get some profit in the stock market during your stock market, you can use a part of those profits, invest it in mutual funds, and get some amount of guaranteed returns, because you do know that mutual funds are taken. So they're basically the fund houses have a lot of you have these people in professions called portfolio managers who invest in the stock market, debt instruments, different types of financial instruments available based on what that mutual fund house deals with. So in a way, you're kind of getting your returns, but so it's not always guaranteed. If the markets are abysmally low, you're not gonna get guaranteed returns, because stock markets, as I told again, it's like gambling, so you never know what's gonna happen in the future. You don't know how the tides turn out. But this SIP investment makes sure that you get into the habit of regular savings. You get into the habit of always investing whatever savings or whatever money you have every month. So these are what we call the benefits of SIP. Okay. Any doubts till now, guys? Can I go ahead? Let me finish all this theory. The last 20 minutes, I assure you, it's going to be interesting, because you'll see live. You'll see live. All this theory which you see is going to make more sense in the last 20 minutes. So I just want you guys to be a little patient. Can I continue? Does anyone have any doubts in SIP? Anyone respond, please? Okay, fine then. So anyone has an idea of lump sum? What do you think lump sums are? Yes, yes, that's correct. That's absolutely correct. So basically, so as he told before, your name, please. Yeah. So as Aditya told, basically, lump sum, you invest lump sum at one point. Say for example, you get some inherited property of yours, like a huge. So we have something called windfall money or windfall gain. So if I have to break down the term windfall gain or windfall money, it's basically a large amount of money, a comparatively large amount of money which comes in your possession. It can be anything, like say for example, you got a salary raise at your new company. Say suppose they gave you like a 30,000 bonus. That's a windfall gain. Okay. So you get property worth say 2 crores. So that's a windfall gain. So windfall gain is basically a comparatively large amount of money which comes to you. So the idea of lump sum is, you instead of investing small amounts, comparatively small amounts of money, when I'm telling comparatively, I mean with respect to the difference between SIP and lump sum. The idea of lump sum is whatever windfall gains you have. So I explained windfall gains, right? So comparatively large sum of money which falls in your hands. Your main intent is to multiply this, and I don't mean like 1x 2x and so multiply, as in you want to increase, you want some return, some profit on that investment. Say for example, you got a raise in your company, so your initial salary was say 1 lakh per month, and you got a raise of 30,000. So that 30,000 is essentially a windfall gain. What you do is you invest that 30,000 all at once in the stock market. In this scenario, you invest that lump sum in the mutual fund. Okay, so this is what you have to do. So basically, lump sum is investing a comparatively large amount of money with respect to SIPs. So that large amount of money is nothing but windfall gains, and you invest it in you invest those windfall gains in the mutual funds, hoping that you're gonna get some return or profits of that investment. Okay, and usually when they are timed well, if a lump sum is timed, so when you time your lump sum investment correctly in the stock market, right, these give you better returns with the right timing, even when compared to SIPs. If you time your lump sum investment, so your big investment at the correct time, right, you're going to get better returns than SIPs, which is why it comes to, so you have a point connect to this. Some amount of market tracking is required for this, because as I told before, SIPs mein your returns get averaged out. So whatever loss you face before, more or less gets covered by the average returns over the duration of whatever over the duration of your investment. So if you kept that mutual funds for like 12 months, so when you face a loss, it won't get covered. It might not get covered completely, but that loss is more or less covered by the average of all your returns every month. So what happens in lump sum is that the mathematics of averaging doesn't happen. This is just like investing in stock markets. Imagine lump sum as investing in a stock market. So suppose you invest 10,000 per month. Next month it becomes 15,000. Imagine lump sum, something similar. The only difference is that lump sum investment is done by, since you're investing it in a mutual fund, it is done by someone who knows the markets better than we do, with respect to what to invest in. I'm not talking with respect to how the economy or the how Nifty is working. With respect to, okay, this month these are the top performers. I think our mutual fund should, pivot or increase our percentage in this particular company so that we are able to give the investors this amount of returns. So this is so lump sum is kind of similar to stock markets. Only thing, it's a mutual fund, and we do direct investing when it comes to stock market investing. And this better returns with right timing is requires market tracking, because when you know that, okay, and I'll come to it later, when you track the markets, when you know that, okay, this is the right time for me to enter, the returns are massive. But at the same time, again, as I told before, stock markets with so mutual funds, are these are high risk high reward games. Okay, so in case you didn't time your lump sum investment properly, your returns also might not be as good. And I'm gonna demonstrate, I'll show you like exactly, and I'm specifically gonna take the year 2020, because we know what happened last year, March and April. From February to April, the stock markets were very bad because of the coronavirus pandemic. So one disadvantage with lump sum is, if you don't time your lump sum investment properly, your returns are not gonna be returns are not going to be what you want. To be what you want. Okay, so this is lump sum, this is SIP. So as a recap again, SIP is systematic investment plan. So you have fixed monthly installments. You can deposit a very small amount. In India it can go as low as rupees 500. Market tracking is not required, because the cost of your investment and the returns are averaged out more or less. And the other advantages, you have habit of regular savings. And lump sum is so what you do is windfall gain. So again, what windfall gains or windfall money is a comparatively large amount of money which you have. So what you want to do is, you want to leverage the capital or the money, the huge money which you have in your hand, by investing it in as a lump sum in mutual fund, hoping that it will multiply. And a lump sum investment generates better returns, provided your timing into the market. So when you're timing into the market, it's like basically your timing into that mutual fund is right. And for that to happen, compared with SIP or market tracking, so you should know a little bit about how the markets are functioning when you want to do a lump sum investment, hoping for a return in that. But at the same time, since it's a high risk high reward game, when you don't do market tracking properly, your returns are not going to be what you want it to be. Okay, so this is what SIP and lump sum investments are. These are the two common mutual fund types of investments which are there out there. Any doubts till now? So I'll just give a brief intro to, like, when you, for example, when we keep searching for mutual funds, you have something like direct mutual funds and regular plans, right? So for every mutual fund, you'll see like there are two options. You have the direct and you have something called regular. Okay, so direct mutual funds are nothing, guys. It's like basically buying it directly. So remember last time I was telling how you can buy units, like how you buy stocks of that stocks of a company. You can buy units of a mutual fund house. Okay, so this is what your direct mutual fund means. So direct mutual fund means they'll allow you to directly buy units of that particular mutual fund house. So the advantage here is there is no commission. Commission is basically a fee which you have to pay to an agent or a portfolio manager or someone, or your personal your accountant, anyone. So you don't have to pay a commission. So usually when you have someone taking care of your finances or advising you on finances, you have to pay them a commission. So the advantage with direct mutual fund is you don't have to pay any commission. You can invest directly. So you have many apps like so Zerodha has a mutual fund, this thing. You have a lot of mutual fund houses. You have the Tad Rate Mutual Fund, Sahi Hai. So all those are examples of direct mutual funds. You can invest directly. So when I mean by invest directly, I can buy like, okay, 1 unit of Axis Bank Blue Chip Fund, 2 units of Axis Bank Mutual Fund at this NAV. So this is what I mean by invest directly. Okay, and But here there'll be an, so, and remember last session I was talking about something called, so the only charge which is levied on a direct mutual fund is the expense ratio. So your expense ratio is out of your investment for the maintenance of the mutual funds, because at the end of the day they are also a corporation. They need to pay their management, they need to pay their employees, they need to pay for their electricity bills, whatever is there, they need to pay for themselves, right? So when you suppose, for example, when you invest rupees 100, the entire amount is not going to get invested on your behalf by them. They are going to take some cut from it. Say for example, if their expense ratio is 1%, that means 1% of 100 is 1 rupee. They'll take it as as a salary, kind of like a salary or a wage for themselves. And rupees 99 from your investment is it's invested on your behalf in the stock market. And I'm going to show you how much of a difference expense ratio makes through an Excel sheet. So give me 5 minutes. After I finish this, I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is direct mutual fund. Regular mutual funds is like the opposite. So here you'll have you'll have a financial advisory. So in between you and the stock market, you'll have an intermediary. So that's a financial advisor, accountant. It can be anyone, someone who takes care of your finances. So what they do is they invest that money on your behalf for you. Okay, so but here you have to pay a 1 to 2% commission. So so for example, if you have 100 rupees, so for example the expense ratio is like 1 rupee, you'll have to pay 1 rupee. And since there's 1 to 2% commission, 2 rupees you have to pay. So essentially your investment is rupees 97 into the markets, or a debt instrument, depending on what type of mutual fund you take. And 3 rupees is something you have to pay for the financial advisor or to that particular mutual fund. So this is like a brief this is a brief introduction. I just wanted to cover this because some people had a doubt last class. So this is what direct mutual fund and regular mutual funds mean. It's very easy. For example, you go on Money Control, you go on the mutual fund section. If you type any mutual fund, at least most mutual funds which we know of, there'll be two options, one above the other. You'll have a mutual fund house name direct, and the next option will be the same mutual fund house name regular. And most preferably go for direct mutual funds, because why? There's no commission. The only fee you have to pay is the expense ratio, which is taken by the mutual fund house as their cuts to maintain their dealings. That's what the regular mutual fund is. So guys, any doubt till now? ACC. ACC is a stock, right? Yes, yes. ACC is a stock which was there before. I think you're asking AMC. AMC is nothing but asset management company. So regular mutual fund. Where did I write it? Okay. Sorry. I think this was just accountant. Sorry, accountant. So what I want to tell is, like, in regular mutual funds, you pay a cut of whatever investment you're doing in that mutual funds to anyone who's taking care of your investment. It can be a financial advisor, it can be an accountant. So this is these are the intermediaries. So this is you have 100 rupees in your hand, you want to invest in the markets, and you have someone, you'll have a layman in between who's going to invest this 100 rupees on your behalf. But he's going to take some cut for himself, because at the end of the day they're not social workers. If they are giving you return, no human helps another human without some amount of reward in return, right? Common sense. Yeah, so what they do is they won't invest this 100 rupees directly here. Okay, they'll take a cut. So they'll take 2 rupees per, I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario. They'll take 2 rupees, and the investment which goes into the mutual fund is just going to be 98, since your initial investment amount was 100. So ACC was just accountant. I just wrote a short form, hoping you'll understand. Apologies for that. Yeah. Okay. So any doubts till now, guys, before we move on to the Excel sections? Any doubts till now, guys? Okay, fine. Give me 2 minutes. I'll just ready my computer.